So today we're going to do something a little different in this video. I am taking you on an international trip to make a point about our topic today, because today I'm recording from the country of Taiwan in Taipei. And you may wonder, what the heck does that have to do with new construction homes in Southern California? But why I'm here will make perfect sense when we get into the video. So stay with me, and don't worry, by the time you see this video, I'm already back and ready to help you with your new home purchase. Now, I'm over here in Taipei because we need to check on my father-in-law, who has had some recent issues with balance and falling. So we need to figure out if his living situation is safe, especially with all of the family over in California. And this is a very common issue. As our parents are aging, figuring out how to care for them and keep them safe definitely plays into our housing options, especially when independent living or a retirement home is just not an option for them. So here is a perfect example. A few months ago, I was working with a couple in their 40s, both full-time professionals who had just taken over caregiving responsibilities for the wife's mother. And she was in her late 70s, still fairly independent, but had just gone through knee surgery and needed to be close to family. So my clients thought, hey, well, just find a regular 4-bedroom home, an extra bedroom, so there's always a guest room, right? But every house we looked at had stairs. The guest rooms were either upstairs, far away from the kitchen and main living area, or maybe they were townhomes with a guest room and bathroom isolated on the first floor, and then stairs were needed to get to any of the other parts of the home, or maybe it was just a spare bedroom and a bathroom on the main floor without any separation or privacy. And it became clear, none of these homes were designed for an aging parent who needed to live with them long term. So what do? What's the solution? And that's when I introduced them to a new construction home with a multi-generational suite. And it's not just a bedroom, but a full suite. It's on the main floor. It has a private bedroom, a private bathroom, even a separate living room area, and its own little kitchenette. And it gave their mother independence and dignity, and gave the family peace of mind because she was always nearby. And the best part was, it was already built into the floor plan. There were no expensive remodels, no ADU permits. There's easy access from the main home's living room or from a private outside door. So for this family, a multi-gen layout wasn't just convenient, it was the difference between stability and a lot of stress. So I'm Steve Enchin, your Southern California new construction home expert, and every week I talk with folks just like you who need advice and help buying a brand new home here in Southern California. Now, are multi-gen homes actually a smart move, or maybe just a clever marketing trend? And that's why in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how a multi-gen home really works, and who they're best suited for, and what builders sometimes don't tell you when you're walking through these model homes. So we're going to talk about real-world living setups, some trade-offs, the pricing, and what kind of value you can expect. And that's whether you're thinking about aging parents, adult kids moving back home, or even maybe generating rental income. Because for the right buyer, a multi-gen home can solve a lot of problems, but only if you know what to look for, right? So let's start with the basics. What exactly is a multi-gen home? So at its core, a multi-gen home is built to accommodate more than one household under one roof. And that usually means aging parents, but can also mean, like I mentioned, adult kids, extended family, or maybe even a live-in caregiver. But it's not about having a lot of bedrooms. It's about having a thoughtfully separated living space designed for real privacy and independence. And this is where a lot of people get mixed up, because some homes are advertised as having a multi-gen space just because they have a downstairs bedroom with a bathroom that's nearby. And that's not truly multi-gen. A real multi-gen layout typically includes these special features like I talked about, right? So we have a private entrance that leads maybe from the driveway or from a side yard, a main floor suite with its own full bathroom, and a flex space. And that can be like a second living room, and you have a little kitchenette. And most importantly, it has physical separation. It's a defined area that feels like its own unit. And it's not just about squeezing people into spare rooms. It's about designing a space where different generations can live together without sacrificing their privacy, their autonomy, or their comfort. So there are builders like Lennar, D.R. Horton, Richmond American, TriPoint. They've all jumped into this space, but not all of their offerings are created equal. So some multi-gen setups are barely more than like a glorified guest suite, and others are practically, I would call them like standalone casitas, and they have private gardens that are attached to the home. And if you don't know the difference, you could end up overpaying for a layout that doesn't actually meet your needs. So I've had buyers come to me after touring homes on their own thinking they found the perfect fit, and that's only to realize that what looked like a multi-gen suite was actually just a standard bedroom that was staged with maybe a little love seat and a coffee maker. But the bottom line is a true multi-gen home is designed with dual lifestyles in mind, so separate but still connected. And this matters even more when you're thinking long term, because these spaces don't just offer comfort, they can open up some interesting opportunities. So a private suite today might house a parent. Later, it could become a space for a returning college grad, or even a source of supplemental income if your city allows either short-term or long-term rentals. And while the idea of multi-gen living isn't new, families have done this informally for generations. The rise of floor plans that actually support it is a more recent response to the realities of, modern life here in Southern California, especially with families who have aging parents. So from affordability concerns to these caregiving responsibilities, today's home buyers are really facing some very real pressures, and these multi-gen homes offer a strategic way to meet these challenges. So let's talk about what's really driving demand. First, you've got, we'll call this sort of like the sandwich generation. These are home buyers in their 40s and 50s. They're caring for both still their kids and also aging parents at the same time. So they need a setup where everyone has space, but help is nearby. Right? So a multi-gen suite makes that possible, and it doesn't sacrifice anyone's privacy or independence. And then there are families who want room for young adult children. Maybe they're just out of college, starting a job, saving for their first home, but with prices where they are today, it makes a lot of financial sense to possibly share space, give them a leg up. So a separate living area gives them privacy and you sanity, right? While everyone is still being under the same one roof. Now, we're also seeing more home buyers think strategically, right? They want a new construction home in Southern California that adapts to their life over time. So that could be a guest suite now, and later on, it becomes a space for a caregiver or a long-term tenant to generate some income. And for a lot of these buyers, it's about that flexibility and that long-term financial planning. So having a multi-gen layout gives you more options. Another option I can think of, like space for work from home, like a little office. So a nicer room or space for visitors who are going to stay with you, or that rental income. So that's why builders are designing more homes with these next-gen, call them next-gen style suites, especially in the Inland Empire, because there's more land available to accommodate these homes, because these homes are much larger, and these larger homes have these layouts with, like I mentioned, the private entrance. A lot of them have their own little laundry room, so you get like a stackable washer and dryer, and then you have that little kitchenette. So it's like this self-contained unit within the home that is sort of beside it, and it does take up that more space, and that's really critical when builders are looking for space to build on, and that's why they're looking at the Inland Empire, high desert, and these other places. So let's talk about what to look for and what to avoid when shopping for a multi-generational home here in Southern California. So first, look for that true separation of space. The best multi-gen designs feel like a home within a home. So that means that private bedroom, full bathroom, and that separate living room or flex space, and that own, the separate entrance from the outside. That is a huge bonus. When you're living together but still want that independence, this kind of separation really makes all the difference. Kitchenettes, big game changer here. We're not talking about full second kitchens, but just a small little kitchenette with a microwave, a sink, and a little refrigerator, because that can make the difference between a guest suite and a self-sufficient living space. Also, laundry access, that matters. If there's no washer and dryer in the suite, or at least nearby in the same floor, that becomes a shared bottleneck. So some of these newer plans include stackable laundry units that are inside the suite, and that is an excellent feature to look for if it's available. So also natural light and livability. There are some builders who kind of squeeze these multi-gen areas into like a dark corner of the house, house where it feels more like a basement or utility room, that's a red flag. Make sure there are windows, natural light, and decent ceiling height that matches the rest of the house. If it doesn't feel livable to you when you walk in, your guests or relatives won't want to stay there either. So also the location within the home needs to be a main level suite, because that's ideal for aging relatives or anyone with mobility concerns. Some of those like second story junior suites may look good on paper, but they often create friction when there are accessibility needs. Right? Pay attention to where the multi-gen space is located, especially if it's intended for long-term living. So let's talk about what to avoid. First, avoid floor plans that label a room multi-gen but don't actually offer any added function. If it's just a standard downstairs bedroom, even an oversized bedroom with no separation, no living area, no dedicated bath inside that space, it's not really serving your needs, and it's not a real multi-gen floor plan. Now also be cautious about overpaying for flashy upgrades that don't add real function. A beverage fridge is nice, but if the layout doesn't flow or the space doesn't feel private, that's a more important issue to focus on. And then avoid communities that treat the multi-gen setup as sort of like a one-size-fits-all. So just because a builder offers it doesn't mean they've designed it well. So always tour in person when possible and observe how the builder's version of multi-gen compares to options from other builders or different communities. Because in Southern California, we're seeing builders like Lennar, TriPoint, D.R. Horton, KB Home. They offer some of the better designed multi-gen layouts in the category, but within those brands, it still varies from builder to builder and community to community. So remember, this isn't just about buying a home, it's about finding a layout that works for your real life, your family dynamic, and your long-term plan. And when you get it right, you'll have a home that feels really flexible, welcoming, and is ready to grow with you no matter what changes life throws your way. So let's talk about some specifics. Where can you find these homes? If you're looking for a true multi-gen setup, not just a spare bedroom, you need to know where to start your search. And here's some good news, right? Southern California builders really are finally catching up to the reality that families come in all shapes and sizes. So I would say over maybe the past 5 to 7 years, we've seen more new home communities add these multi-gen suites. And that's especially true in the Inland Empire and some of the little areas of northern LA County. But honestly, these layouts are going to be more in the Inland Empire because the land is more available. The lot sizes are going to be bigger. The price points will still be within reach for most buyers, especially those needing space for extended family. So again, you'll find builders like D.R. Horton, Richmond American. I think Woodside Homes is also offering some of these true multi-gen layouts. So I help our clients zero in on these every day. In Orange County, we just don't have many options. Homes with a multi-gen suite take up that larger footprint. So with land cost at a premium and the trend towards those kind of tall and narrow homes, we may need to look at other areas to find homes with this feature. And like I mentioned, in LA County, our best bet is often in kind of the northern areas like Santa Clarita, Palmdale, that type of area. And that's where you'll see newer developments popping up that have more space. Now, here's the key. Just because a community offers multi-gen homes doesn't mean they're right fit for your family. So you've got to look at these things. They're really important. Lot size. Is there still enough outdoor space for privacy and activities for everyone in the home? The HOA rules. Are there limits on parking or overnight guests? Can you rent out the space if that's really your plan? Design of the community. So are the homes packed close together, or is there breathing room with the lot sizes? This is really important in the multi-gen scenarios because family members might have different schedules, routines, even noise levels. So a smart layout in a poorly designed neighborhood can still cause some friction, all right? And that's where I come in. I know how to interpret these builder offerings and guide my clients to the best fit communities based on what they actually need, not just what's written on a sales brochure. So We've walked through these homes. I've spoken with the superintendents, the builders. I've seen how these layouts live in real life, just not on paper. And if you're not sure where to start, I'm here to help you narrow it down based on your lifestyle, location, and your long-term goals. Now, let's be honest. Most buyers don't even know what to ask for when they walk into a new home sales office, and that's where things can go sideways. You might get lured in by a model home with a beautiful guest suite, only to find out it's a $120,000 upgrade. Or worse, it's not even available in the floor plan that you can afford. So step one, you've got to know what you're negotiating. When you're buying new construction, especially in a still competitive Southern California market, builders are often presenting pricing in layers. We've got that base price we've talked about before, which doesn't include most of the upgrades. Some builders still have that lot premium, so that can be, like $5,000 to $75,000 depending on location and view and lot size. And then you have your structural options. This is where multi-gen suites come into play. Sliding glass doors are bonus rooms. So the multi-gen suite you might have seen in the model might be a $40,000 add-on, and not every lot may even accommodate it. So before you fall in love with a layout, you make sure to ask the questions that actually matter. Is this plan currently available? Are there any inventory homes with the multi-gen suite already built? How much time do you realistically have to act before pricing or availability is shifting? So step two, we got to understand the timeline. If you're buying a to-be-built home with a multi-gen configuration, your timeline could stretch 6 to 10 months, depending on the phase release and construction schedules. If you're buying a spec home already under construction, you may have less flexibility on layout, but quicker movement dates and potentially more negotiating power. And this is where a lot of families end up making mistakes. They wait too long to commit, or they assume that they'll have time to figure things out later. But in many Southern California communities, by the time you're ready to act, the best homes are already gone. These layouts are really, really popular. So step three, work with someone who's done this before. That's me. You don't need to go it alone. In fact, if you walk into a builder's sales office without your own agent, you're dealing directly with the buyer's representative, and that's whose job is to get the best deal for the builder, not for you. So that's where I come in. I help you compare multi-gen options across different communities and price points. I help you understand what's included versus what's extra. We break down the incentives, the rate buy downs that actually save you money, and we watch out for contract language that limits flexibility or locks you into builder-controlled financing. So I've helped families just like yours find the right Southern California new construction home, whether they needed a space for elderly parents or just extra folks. So I hope you enjoyed this video and it was helpful to you and gave you something to think about, maybe some new ideas. So if you have any questions, don't forget to comment down below or also reach out directly. You can contact me. My contact information is up on the screen. Send me a text message, give me a call, send me an email, and we can talk about what your needs are and what the available options are for you. So I hope you enjoyed this video and hope you found it helpful, and we will see you on the next video.